Hey everybody, with the release of the last issue of The Freeze, I did a time lapse of coloring the last page of the fourth issue, and I wanted to walk you through my process. So my line art is set up in a couple different layers. I have my basic line art, which I send to my flatter, who's fantastic, is Fernando Agreo. And then I have a layer that is a shadows layer. It's a gray tone painted layer that I keep separate so that when I compile my line art, my flats, and then my shadows, I put them on separate layers. I will take my shadow layer, I will set it to multiply roughly at about 80%, and then I will tint my shadows, usually the complement color of my light source. Here what you're seeing is I'm just adjusted. See, there's me adjusting the toning of the shadow layer. I've taken the flats, I've adjusted them to the local colors that match previous scenes. And with here, now I take my flats layer and I will duplicate the local colors. And then I will select each of the characters and environments in each panel and kind of tint them according to the emotional feel of the character in that panel. You'll notice it starts to go weird. So what I'll do is then I will take my flats layer with local colors over the top of that and set it to about 60% opacity. So what it will do is kind of color tint the scene for mood and emotion. It's a way that I step away from local colors. I have a layer on top that is full black and set to color mode. And what it does is it allows me to see kind of the values of the page. So on my color tone layer, I'll adjust my values till they have enough contrast. Above those layers, I'll drop a soft light at 30% layer of blue. Above that, I will take my focal points and focal characters and do a soft light 30% of red. And then on top of everything, I put in a gradient mask layer set to, again, soft light at about 30%. I've got a handful of predetermined gradients that kind of set the mood and stage for each scene. I'll do my rendering on a screen layer. So below my gradient mask layer, but above everything else, I have a layer filled with black and set to screen. And then I'll just use my lasso tool, a selection, and just select the areas I want to highlight. And then I just have a soft round brush set at about 35% opacity, set to screen as well. I set the color to my light source. So in this point, my light source is a light blue light source. So you can see I'm just brushing in my rendering here on my figures, which I will render out more than my backgrounds just to give them a little bit of a pop. Let's see here. So I'm going through here, just adding kind of a secondary layer of rendering just to make things pop a little bit more. Then I'll trace into my shadow areas, forms and planes and things like that, and render out in just a soft little bit of rendering, a complement to my light source, so a secondary kind of bounce light source. And there I'm using orange. Going back through to my figures and just kind of rendering on the way down, as I've kind of done before. Render with a blue light, throw a little bit of bounce light rendered in with an orange. So what I'm using here is Photoshop CS5. I'm coloring all of this on a Cintiq 24 HDT. There's nothing tremendously special. I'm not using any custom brushes or anything. I am using the hi-fi presets that Brian and Kristy Miller created with their coloring company that you can get through their books. I'd have to look up and put a link in the bio there about where to get their great books on comic coloring. So going back through everything here, I did all my line art in Clip Studio Paint, which it used to be Manga Studio. It's the newest version, whatever has been released. They update it on the fairly regularly, and let you, if you own the software, you get the free updates. It's a phenomenal program. But between Clip Studio and Photoshop, that's how I do my pages entirely. So yeah, the rest of this is fairly standard from what I'm doing before. When I'm rendering on faces, occasionally I will feather my line, like 1.5 pixels. I'm coloring it at 11 by 17 at 600 DPI, which is really big and higher resolution than I need to. It's just kind of what I got used to on this series. I did everything with those specifications. So mainly, the main goal of this is just to enhance the storytelling of the line work, provide movement of your eyes down the page, and everything like that. Now, I'm working my way through here and there. You'll see I'm adjusting my shadows at times. I have my shadow layer separate, so I can use that occasionally for selections to select the areas outside of shadow, but sometimes I'll paint over the top of them if I feel it needs to be rendered out a little bit more. We're getting further along in here. Again, kind of using my primary light source coming from that window. It's early morning. They're in a hotel room. You can tell where the window is. And then I'll just use that bounce or secondary light source off to the other side of our characters here with that soft orange light set. Once I get all this together, I'll flatten everything down. I'll do some color holds if I need to. I'll do some final special effects. But in general, there's everything. There's local, mood, emotion, renders, all the way through. Thanks so much for watching and reading the series. If you haven't got it yet, you can check it out and get it on Amazon.